Hello everyone, welcome to OWTV. My name is Commander X and I'm joined by a DPS player for Team Liquid, Tree. How are you doing this morning, Tree?
Doing good, doing good.
I want to get straight into it because obviously it was a pretty big match last weekend up against Geekay. What were your sort of expectations coming into that one?
The Geekay match was like pretty, I think, coin flip for either of us, to be honest, because we're like the only two teams in NA that play ball. And going into that match, you can't prepare for that at all because the other two teams, like Nightmare and SSG, that are pretty good, they don't play any ball. So I think that's also why like we leaned away from that, like going into the match, because it was just like so hard to practice against it. And then they're also like the only team that plays like the Lucio Wu Young, like pretty much out throughout like every region. Like no one really touches that. So I think like that match for probably them too, it was like just whoever plays better on that day individually would just win.
Does that mean a lot of the comps we kind of saw from you guys was you sort of had for theory, but you hadn't really got a chance to test it properly?
Yeah, I think mainly on like Samoa, we'd been playing that like Sigma Sim comp a lot. And I think there was a way for us to make it work, but they also played like the Freya with the ball, which is something we hadn't practiced a ton against in scrims when we were playing that. Because honestly, I do think Sigma's actually quite good right now. And I think our Sim comp's getting a lot better. But yeah, I think just going into that, I think we played sloppy that first map, but also just the Freya, like with the Sigma, you just have no one to contest him ever, so it's kind of hard.
Do you think like power of hindsight, and now you've had that one, if you could play that Samoa again, would you need to change the comp or could you just fix it with play style?
I think it's possible. Like if we played better and cleaner, like I think we start off a little slow sometimes in matches, like not as high energy, not as high tempo, but I think also like either way, we could have just changed our comp a little bit or just played it better. I think either one would have helped us a lot.
Because it did feel like even once we got over to the Hollywood, it still felt kind of slow for you guys. Like you attacked first and it looked like you were going to get full held until you and Vega kind of clutched up. And then second was kind of a big struggle as well. Did the whole thing just feel a bit low energy or not quite like your normal selves at that point of the match?
To be honest, on our attack, I just trolled. Like I died twice with shift on Reaper. I think we should have won like first point instantly, but we just traded out. Like the whole point of that comp, like the Genji Reaper was like just go fast, get trades because Hollywood first is such like a close point. But I think I messed up there, but then luckily I carried us on the defense, so I made up for it, I guess.
Yeah, that defense was crazy because honestly, like they get first point straight away, and then it sort of looks like it's almost curtains for this map already, like 5-minute time bank on second. And then you guys swap over to a Ram as well. But it just felt like something happened on that defense. Like I think you and Zero won like a 2v5 type thing, or like traded your way out of it. How did that end up happening? Like, or is it just individuals having moments in the games, or did it feel like anything changed in the sort of team atmosphere during that defense?
I mean, I think it was definitely like individual plays, but I think also like the further we got into that defense, the more we started to like up the tempo and like really like play first and make a lot of plays. Because I mean, in a sim mirror, that's just how you win a lot of the times, is just catching them off guard. But yeah, I think definitely a lot of like big individual plays from me and Zero there.
Did it feel then after that map when you sort of maybe win it at what felt like against all odds? Was it a big confidence boost then for the rest of the series? Now you're sort of right back in it.
Yeah, I think that was huge. I think if we don't win that map, there's no way we win that match, to be honest.
Because then they take you to Junkertown and we see you guys start for Sigma again, but you end up swapping onto the Winston as well. Was it always planned that you would swap to the Winston once you got past first point, or was this just like an adaptation in the moment because it felt too tough?
Yeah, I mean, I think usually second point nowadays is just better for like rush comps and that like faster play style. But first point is usually like so hard for them because the sight lines are so long and whatnot. But I think it's really tough because we just got picked twice by Widow. And so like we don't have a first point at all. And then we're swapping to rush like in an ult deficit and they just snowball. It's really hard from there, honestly. But it just happens sometimes. And even then, like our attack was pretty good. Like we still managed to cap. But yeah, without having a first point, it just kind of messes us up for the whole defense.
When you swapped onto that, because it ended up sort of being a Winston Reaper mirror for like big parts of that map as well, what's the key thing to sort of winning that type of matchup?
I think for us, like we're pretty good at Lucio Curie. Like I think we're definitely the best Lucio Curie team in NA. So I think when we're playing like our groupings well, and like we're winning the frontline trade with all like the Reaper bubbles and whatever with Monkey, I think doing that well is like the first step. But then also like I think having really good ult fights is the biggest thing when it comes down to those comps. But like I said, we swapped off it on second point off the Sigma. So we were already in like a sort of back foot position. And then I think we were just like super slow to get a lot of fights going. And then on third point, we got in this like really weird situation where like we took a fight early and then like some of our guys died and some of them didn't. So we were stuck behind them in their spawn. And then the rest of us are like stuck main. It was just really confusing. I think we need to be ready to like play faster and like read those situations better.
Yeah, the sort of hard to prepare in those situations. Just need to find the right call in the moment.
Yeah.
Because then the overtime, again, maybe a bit of a similar story, right? Like your attack, it felt like it was going fine, but then like RuPaul gets caught when they do their retake from like a flank from lethal, and then it kind of just ends. And then even on the other side, I think you really just lost to ults. Like I think Admiral just had like a slightly quicker beat, so then you have no space to give and everything like that.
Yeah.
Where did you feel then, at that point of the series, what's the sort of vibe in the team then? Are we still confident? Were you, how strong are you normally at Junkertown? Were you aware that was going to be like a tough map for you?
I mean, I think Junkertown itself is just a hard map when like stuff like just getting random picked and died into flanks just happens. I think usually we're pretty good at that map, honestly, but like literally anything can happen with those type of maps. I don't think it's like a huge like confidence killer, to be honest, because I mean, in the first place, we got capped on with 3 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
So I think the fact that we made it pretty close is like honestly pretty good for us. And like it kept us warm, I think, going into next map on Esper.
Yeah, because Esperança is where you have to pass, like, I guess, the Geekay test, where they sort of start running some of their, I guess, nonsense, for lack of a better word, with like the Bull and the Wu Yang and the Weaver. I think it was like Sombra Cass and Sombra Reaper at times. Obviously, you don't really get to practice against that, like you said, for anyone. So how do you approach that type of matchup? What are you looking for to actually try and exploit against that comp?
I feel like Weaver, I mean, luckily they nerfed Weaver last patch. I feel like he's a lot worse right now. But I think against always, like even in stage 2, we'd struggle versus the Weaver comp a lot because I think their backline, especially with Wu Yang now, like I feel like the whole point of that comp is their backline is just unkillable and you just perma-focus the front line. But I think we won that map mainly because like it was such like a sort of unorthodox play from them that like everyone just goes back to basics, right? And it's a lot of like individual plays. Like we had RuPaul and Ana, like Zero on Genji, clutched up a lot of fights, and then like I was on Freya. I think the macro matters, but I think more so against that comp, against their like weird comps, just like having individual plays and like just hitting your shots honestly just matters a ton versus that comp. And I think we did that. Yeah,
I think their comp's almost set up to sort of take a lot of duels and force a lot of fights. So you kind of just have to be good for it when it counts.
Yeah.
Then we get to Suravasa, and it felt like a pretty hot take from the outside because you guys roll out on the Sigma again, and we'd sort of seen you, like Samoa was a big struggle on the Sigma, and then the Junkertown, you sort of had to swap off it as well. Did it feel like that in the moment? Was you nervous to go back to the Sigma on that 5th map?
Well, one thing I think about Sigma on Sura was they banned Freya that map. And I think without the Freya ban, like Sigma's a lot worse. But since they banned Freya, like we don't really have to mark him that well. And I think Sigma is so much better at like contesting the Sojourn than a Freya, obviously. And also we didn't play Sim, we played Tracer. And so yeah, but I think the main reason we won that map is just like honestly our macro is really good. Like our pushes and our groupings are really well. Like Vega was doing a really good job that map, I think. I think like team wise and like macro wise, that's probably one of the best maps we've ever played, to be honest, as a team. But yeah, I still think the Sigma like definitely has its place. I think Boston's actually pretty good at it too. So I think yeah, we can make it work.
Is the idea behind the Sigma just because it suits the map, or is it particularly against some of Geekay's comps? Because that Suravasa in particular maybe felt like one of a few maps we've had this season where Ultraviolet on the Wu Yang wasn't able to have the same impact he normally does.
Mm-hmm. To be honest, I don't really know where the Sigma started. I feel like Zero like randomly said one day, he's like, guys, let's try Sigma Sim. I feel like this is good. And then it did work for a while in scrims, and we kept running with it. But that was kind of different because we were mainly scrimming like I said, SSG and Nightmare, who mostly play like the Sim. And we found that like when you're going like Cass, Zarya, Sim, whatever, like the ball comp's quite hard. That's honestly why we didn't play much ball. I think ball is also like even in Korea, it's falling out of the meta a little bit. People are playing a lot more like Ram and off tanks in general. So yeah, Sigma was kind of like our key for that. But then obviously Geekay was playing like completely different comps. So we just had to make it work. But I think no matter what hero you play, like the way you play the game doesn't change that much. And so yeah, if it works for us, we just like know our style well, and we can play that no matter what.
The whole series, maybe a lot of your series, like I'm thinking to the SSG series as well, it felt like they've been these real big dogfights at the top here, but you've managed to come out on top of all of them. Does that give you a lot more confidence coming forward, even though like in some ways the series are closer than if you just smashed them 3-0? But because you're able to win these tough games, like in these like hard situations.
Yeah, I think that's like pretty huge for us, honestly, because we've been to so many map 5s, like in stage 1 and then in EWC versus Raccoons, and we have never been able to close it out. But I think now seeing that change is like huge for us, honestly. And even though like we want to be like dominating and stomping, honestly, I like a close match. I can't lie. As long as you win, it's always fun. So
just for blood pumping. And then going into playoffs as well, or maybe I should talk about the matches a little bit, because obviously you still have 2 games left to actually secure yourself in that top spot. Are you particularly worried about any of those games coming up this weekend? You got Sakura and Dilducks in your double.
Yeah, I might have to look out for Dilducks. I've heard they're cooking something up. But yeah, not really. I think we're mainly just waiting, to be honest, because there's going to be a new patch before playoffs anyways. So we're kind of just like playing whatever right now in scrims and just figuring it out and then lock in for those 2 matches. But yeah, I think since there's a new patch, a whole new season, like a lot's going to change. So just kind of have to be ready for everything.
How do you guys approach that as a team? Because obviously it's like the most important matches of the stage, at least to qualify for the major, and a new patch, limited time to get ready for it all. How do you approach sort of trying to figure it out in that confined space of time?
I think the best thing that teams can do is like they know their style really well. Like even if like one character looks like really broken or whatever, we have our own style and strengths that we're really good at. Like I said, we're really good at Lucio Kiri comps, I think. That's why even like Wu Young's still really broken right now, but we don't have to play a ton of him because I think he's really beatable if you can just play your strengths well. And I think that matters more than anything. Like even in like EWC, I think we messed up a little bit because we tried forcing Sim too much, but I think there were a lot of times where we could have just played Tracer because he was just insane at Tracer. And like we played against T1 and they weren't even playing much Sim because that's what we struggled with, was playing against the Sim teams. But they didn't even end up playing it. So I think really what we learned from that was just like play to our strengths and play our style, and then we're always going to be good for it no matter what.
Yeah, I guess Virtus Pro probably had a similar experience at the Esports World Cup, where I think they had like a really tough time against all these Sim teams, but then didn't actually have to play versus it in any of the groups at all, and just kind of got away with not having to lean into it. I wanted to talk to you about, obviously, you've been living now in the Liquid House for a while. How has the experience been so far this year, and how much do you think it's helped you and the rest of the team?
Yeah, the Liquid House, it's pretty fun. I say sometimes it's like we're living in like a sitcom with all the random stuff that goes on here. And I'm sure Cass is sick of our bullshit, a bunch of kids running around. But yeah, I think the team house has helped us so much because there's just like a different type of vibe. Like you get to know each other better, but also like I think our team in particular is all just really young, and there's a lot of ideas and like a lot of arguments, in scrims, and we're all used to that. Like that's normal for any good team. But I think being in person and being able to like figure things out, like you're forced to work with each other. You don't just like type over Discord and then everyone logs off and like it's still like in the back of your head, like pissing you off. Like you actually have to like talk about shit and like get through it as a team. And I think without the team house, honestly, we'd be way worse right now, to be honest. And we didn't have that in stage 1 at all. And I think that definitely would have helped us. But yeah, it's good to have it now.
Yeah, I think you get a lot of like, even if you have to have no sort of like arguments or disagreements about what happened or what went wrong or anything like that. The fact that you can have that conversation and then you can just go for dinner and you can see that the other person maybe doesn't hate you or isn't bitter. It's just like, it is all just the game and brings you together. So in the house then, obviously you've lived with these guys now for a while. Who's the easiest to live with? Who's the most difficult to live with?
I want to include Cass because I feel like he gets a pass on that one. But I think easiest to live with is probably, no one's really hard to live with, I'll say. It's probably RuPaul just because he's the oldest and he's more on top of his stuff. But hardest to live with, I mean, I don't really think anyone's like a huge outlier. I think sometimes Vega can get a little messy, but so can I. So I'm not really one to talk. Yeah, no one's really like that hard to work with or live with here. It's pretty chill for the most part.
And since you've had all this time together now as well, what do you think the biggest change has been from, if you think back to you and the team in stage 1 to where the team is now?
Yeah, I think stage 1, like I don't know. I think as a team, we lacked a lot of like team play. Like I think the whole thing about our team, like because we're all so young, is like individually, I've always said like our team can like compete with anyone. I really believe that like individually from like mechanics and standpoint and all that. I think really we can compete with like even the best Korean players. I think we saw that a little bit in EWC against Raccoons. But I think the biggest thing for us has been like our macro and like working together as a team better. And I think that just comes with time, to be honest, because we're all so young. We haven't played on like the most insane teams, but I think with time it just shows like we'll get better and better. So yeah.
And how close does that feel now? Because obviously we're at the end of the year, final stage in North America, and then final major in Stockholm a bit after that. Do you feel you're close enough now that this could be the stage where we see you win your first regional playoffs or go far at one of these international tournaments? Yeah,
for sure. I really think this is our stage to win, to be honest. I think it always depends on meta. Like literally anything could happen, but there are hero bans, and I think we're a pretty flexible team. I think that's one thing we have over like a lot of teams, especially in NA, that have to lean into more like off tank comps or whatever. But yeah, I think right now we're in a really good spot, and we see the improvement. Like especially like winning these map 5s, like you can literally look at our results and see how much better we're doing. So it feels really good.
And before I let you go, Tree, do you have a message for the Team Liquid fans?
Yeah, I mean, just thanks so much, guys. It's awesome.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Tree. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.